Hello, everybody, and welcome into Mercedes-Benz Stadium following Arizona State's 39-31 loss in the Peach Bowl to Texas in double overtime. The season's over for Arizona State, but a very successful one, to say the least. As always, my name's Justin Lestertosa. That's Ryan Myers. And Ryan, this was a game, especially those first 9 to 10 minutes, where it seemed like ASU was just out of it. It seemed like Texas was just flat out a better team, but finally started gaining momentum and made it a game. Forced overtime, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, the game started off rough for Arizona State, Justin. Coming into the game, over 13-point underdogs, roughly there and abouts, and it showed in the opening few minutes. Obviously, Arizona State scored with a field goal in its opening drive, but then right after that, Texas went right to work offensively, scoring a touchdown in 2 plays to respond, and then scoring off of a punt the next play. And it just really started to be a tough start for Arizona State. They couldn't get going early offensively. On the defensive side, they lost the battle in the trenches a little bit early as well, struggling to get pressure on quarterback Quinn Ewers, who obviously isn't the best mobile quarterback, but certainly is good at making those throws when he has time in the pocket. A really rough start for ASU, but they grew into the game. And halftime, they went down by a wide margin, and it was one of those times where it felt like they were going to be counted out and they weren't going to be able to come back into the matchup. But seemingly so, they came out with a new fire, a new engine, and it really showed, especially early on in the second half. They got Shamari Simmons back at nickelback, who was suspended for a targeting penalty, and it really just opened up the field of play. Got a stop, forced a safety, and then the momentum just kept flowing and flowing and flowing until eventually getting all the way back and really just putting that momentum to good use on both sides of the ball. Made for a great contest, a beautiful finish, and one of those games that's a true instant classic in college football, like a game that you're never going to want to miss. You're going to have to be watching this game back over again for the years, and it's going to be something that Arizona State's going to have a calling card of for a long time coming.
Yeah, and the Sun Devils, again, they struggled, really couldn't move the ball offensively, but eventually they got some of their receivers going, and Cam Scadaboo did some Cam Scadaboo things, really does it all. Had 1 touchdown himself throwing the ball, 42 yards, something along those lines, and really proved why he is one of the best running backs in the entire country.
Yeah, over 280 yards of total offense. He did it in all 3 facets. Over 140 yards rushing, almost 100 yards receiving on 8 completions, and then another 42 yards, like you mentioned, and a touchdown pass. I mean, what more could you ask for from this complete football player in Cameron Scadaboo? And coming into a game against Texas, a team that's so good and dominant up front. I mean, this team is ranked 10th in the country in sacks. They're amazing on the defensive end, no real weaknesses. And Cam Scadaboo being the talisman guy for Arizona State, you knew coming in Texas was going to focus on stopping him and him alone, and Cameron Scadaboo still almost put up almost 300 yards of total offense. An amazing performance from him, and he showed why he was number 5 in the Heisman Place voting. He was everything today for ASU, and when ASU was going, it was because of Cameron Scadaboo, and it clearly showed in the later stages of the game as well.
Yeah, clearly an NFL prospect, but for ASU's defense as a whole, again, slow start on both ends of the field. Seems like they were outmatched at a point, and Texas's O-line did a really good job of protecting the pass, but eventually made some key plays, some key takeaways to really ignite some energy.
Yeah, Arizona State did a very good job, Justin, on what it always does on defense, which is stopping the run. They really forced a lot of pressure on the Texas offensive line when they were trying to run the ball and get Winsner involved and get Quinn Ewers to kind of get out of the pocket every once in a while and not giving up more than about 60 to 70 yards on the ground in that aspect. But then in the passing game, it was tough at times to get Ewers kind of stuck outside of the pocket or to force him into the trap situations. They had 3 sacks, which is very good. Key sacks as well. But outside of that, Ewers had a lot of time in the pocket. He made very on-time and crisp throws when he needed to, and that was really kind of piercing for the secondary that was missing one of their key guys for the entire first half. In the second half as well, we saw in overtime late in the game that maybe some tired legs, a misread here and there on defense and secondary, and that led to 3 critical plays in overtime that led to ASU eventually losing the game. That 4th and 13 play, we want to talk about this for a little bit as well because that's going to haunt Arizona State for a long time coming. You saw that Texas had a long ways to go in overtime. They needed to get 13 yards just to get a first down, let alone a touchdown, and then a beautiful move by Matthew Golden on the double move on the route, and Ewers had so much time in the pocket, found him in the back of the end zone, and plays like that really just hype up exactly what these games are about, really showing the difference between sometimes these offensive lines in the SEC and why they get so highly touted with being able to protect a quarterback, a guy that's a real pocket passer. And when you give a guy like Ewers the time in the pocket, he can really be deadly and make throws like that that really pierce and kill you in a game like this one.
So again, Ryan, the season's over for Arizona State, and it's been beat like a dead horse, but I feel like it needs to be said again. Ranked last coming into the season in the Big 12 preseason media poll, and look at them now, made a quarterfinal matchup with a bye and won the Big 12 championship this year, and forced a team that has been in national rankings conversations throughout the entire season, forced them to a double overtime. A tremendous season for Arizona State, not just for Cam Scadaboo upping his draft stock and guys like Leif Altanu and Xavier Guillory and others, but the entire team really finding its niche and trying to develop into one of those blue bloods, as Kenny Dillingham has sort of aspired to do.
Yeah, Justin, everybody loves a dark horse story, and that's what we got this season from Arizona State football. A team, like you mentioned, picked last in the Big 12 Media Day preseason poll and managed to work their way through the season consistently, getting through a lot of dog fights, close games. There weren't a lot of blowouts in this season. A lot of games for ASU in the Big 12 especially were dog fights. They were close. It came down to the wire. And it really came down to those special moments from special players that ended up in getting those victories they needed to go on and get to these big moments like this. We saw that again today, right? In the big moments, Cameron Scadaboo could be leaned on. Guys like you mentioned, Shamari Simmons, who could be leaned on to make big plays as well, and so many others across the roster we don't have time to name. But it's true and it's clear that Arizona State's heading in a great direction going forward. The players in the locker room in the postgame seem very bittersweet about this loss, being upset about the fact that they're not playing anymore, that the season's over, but also understanding how much they've been able to accomplish, being proud of the moment, and knowing that what they've done this season can truly change the tide for Arizona State football for a long time coming and get Arizona State back to the point where they wanted to be, what they strived to be at, making games and playing late in the season, having those November games where it's 75 degrees out and you got ESPN College Game Day or tons of Pitt fans in the stands, because this game matters more than anything else. And those kind of moments you don't get often. They talk about not wanting to be a Cinderella story. That's what Arizona State Athletic Director Graham Rossini said after this game when we talked to him for a second, Justin, saying how he wants this to be more than just a one-time thing, more than just a moment, to be something that's a long-term and forever for this program. And we're seeing a change for Arizona State. This could be a long time coming. For Sun Devil fans and for others, this could be something that really impacts this team for a long time coming, and something that we still see that'll change the course of ASU football for a long time.
Yeah, Ryan, it's been awesome to cover this team and this journey from start to finish, but the thing about media, the journey doesn't stop. There's no off
No,
season.
it does not.
So to stay tuned on all the coverage, go to DevilsDigest.com. Follow Devils Digest on Twitter at Devils Digest. As always, my name is Justin Lacertosa. That's Ryan Myers. We'll talk to you guys soon.